horrible, embarrassing, pathetic, pandering. These are all words I would use to describe geeks and gamers.
We're gonna talk about Disney's live-action Snow White. I just walked out of it because it was that bad.
There's a bunch of channels that are like the anti-woke channels that just go off on this shit for like years. One of them, it's not the most popular one, but it's called Geeks and Gamers, and it's this guy who I fucking despise him. He's like a 45-year-old man. Guess how many videos on Snow White he made?
18.
50. In the past year to 2 years, he has made 50 videos about Snow White. And I mean, part of it is just because he's making money off it.
I'm sure that's most of it.
But like, it's just so embarrassing. It's like, what is wrong with these people? And so maybe we should start here before we even get to the movies, is like the internet and what's going on here.
It's as bad as these fucking losers in front of me that are in the left lane right now and don't understand that the left lane is for passing. So now I have to go around this idiot. People are stupid.
Here's what happened. There were two main things that happened that caused people to automatically hate the new Snow White movie before it came out. The first one was Rachel Zegler, the star, was doing an interview, and she said that the original Snow White movie was dated.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937.
It's no longer 1937.
Stupid fucking people on the road right now.
I think anyone who thinks that comment is like bad and they're like mad on behalf of the old Snow White, they should watch the old Snow White again.
Yeah, that's why we watched the old Snow White.
I don't think they're watching the old movie though. I think they're like clouded by nostalgia and just responding because I like my childhood and you're telling me my childhood was built on something dated,
yeah,
even though I'm dated.
No, that's exactly what it is. And for the record, we were just talking about this the other night. Like most of the Disney animated movies are fantastic, and most of them don't really seem dated at all. And the animation in the original Snow White doesn't seem dated.
Yeah, it's a feat. It's incredible animation.
It's one of those things where like when we were kids, we didn't know that Snow White was made in the 30s and Aladdin was made in the 90s. We had no idea. But story-wise,
like there is none. Like the story is like rich girl is made, gets told to run away, runs away. Animals say, go to this cottage. She goes to this cottage. She's like, I'll clean and I'll cook. And then the dwarves are like, don't do anything dumb. And then she does something dumb and then she dies.
Yeah.
And gets kissed.
Yeah, that is the whole movie. She doesn't have a character. She's not a character.
She does nothing.
She cooks, cleans, gets tricked, and dies. That's the movie.
Yeah. So I think if someone thinks that like it shouldn't be remade like 90 years later and updated to like, I don't know, like be aspirational, which like Disney movies generally are for kids, like it's shallow ways, of course, but still like aspirational.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to change things.
Some people may think that we're just being woke. But the problem with that movie is that she has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah.
Right?
The story's happening around her.
Exactly. And so this movie had to fix that on top of maybe making it a little less stereotypical.
I feel like the whole thing is, it is blown out of proportion because like, as you were saying about like the YouTubers that make 50 videos about Snow White being woke, they're doing that because it makes them money. And I feel like it is kind of like a false outrage in a way, or it's like a couple people's outrage that's based in monetary gain.
Yeah, sure. And also like the outrage videos, they just get more traction than
than someone being like, Snow White looks okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for Snow White.
Yeah.
Like no one would click that.
Yeah, no one would watch 50 videos
like,
of
Snow
that.
White is one shade darker than the original.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, some of the things that I like about the original movie, because up until 2 days ago, I was a big fan of the original.
During those 30 years where you didn't watch it, you loved it.
I always loved it. And I was like, hell yeah, there's going to be a new Snow White movie. Fucking Snow White rocks. The things that are still good about the original is just like the creative stuff.
Yeah.
The spooky stuff. Witch goes into the dungeon, or a queen goes into the dungeon, transforms into a witch. Spooky.
Cackles maniacally.
She's the creepy shot of her on the rowboat, rowing, and when she like appears in the window, like that stuff is cool. The creepy forest is cool.
The vulture.
The vultures are cool. Yeah, there was just stuff when I was a child where I was like, this Snow White was obviously a little bit of a gay movie, but it was a little like...
It was a little darker.
Yeah, it had dark elements to it, and I liked that. And I mean gay as in jolly, not as in the dwarves sucking each other off.
Yeah.
The dwarves are not gay. They very much.
Yeah, they desperately want to get kissed by Snow White.
My point is, the original does have its moments, but most of that movie, like after rewatching it, is just Snow White and the dwarves doing slapstick in the house for like an hour.
Also, the music sucks.
Yeah, in the original, except for the hi-ho song.
Yeah.
The hi-ho song does not seem dated at all, but the rest of it seems very, very
and
much...
And it's very like not memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like music from the 30s, and it is.
When raindrops come tumbling.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Famed is thy beauty, majesty. But the lovely maiden I now behold.
I look at you, and I just want to be the fairest of them all.
So Hannah, what did you think of the new 2025 Disney's Snow White?
Well, let me say, you have been jumping in your boots about this movie since it was announced. And this
What are you talking about? I like cool shit. I like movies with guns and explosions.
When I was telling my parents today that I was going to see Snow White, and I was like, yeah, because my adult boyfriend wants to.
Yeah, and they were like typical.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen this. I mean, I'll see anything if people think it's good, and I do see a lot of things, but like this is a movie I'd be like, oh, new kids movie's out, not gonna see it. But seeing the old one a couple days ago made me more excited to see this one, because I wanted to see what they changed. Like, I was excited because it was so horribly dated. And I thought this new one was great.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I do think it was a kid's movie overall. So I don't think, like, it's perfect. I'm not going to be, like, you know, rewatching it every day. But I thought, like, the music was great. Her singing was fantastic. I thought it was entertaining. I think some parts were, like, weaker than others. But it is funny because this movie isn't that much longer than the original. I think the original was, like, an hour 30, and this is, like, an hour 45 or an hour 50. And so much more happened in this new one.
Yeah.
They gave her a backstory. It didn't just have to do with dwarves. Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that at all.
What did you think?
I thought it was magical.
Aww.
I thought that if you asked me like halfway through what I thought, I would have said I loved it.
Wow. Yeah, I liked the beginning more than I liked it towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actual parts, like, it's so funny because this is so stupid, but like the first time Snow White appears in her costume and they film her like coming up from a hill, and I was like, oh wow, they like...
You're like, wow.
It was cool. And like, but they had like they took their time to film things the right way. You see the dwarves in silhouette the first time. Unlike in the original, you just see the dwarves like working there. Yeah, you see like when she goes into the spooky forest, there's a part where she looks up. There's like creepy red lighting in the background, and there's a huge tree with like arms in front of her.
The tree was awesome.
In my head, I went, fuck yeah.
I knew you would love that tree.
Like, that was sick.
You were nervous that there wasn't going to be enough spooky forest.
Yeah, I was. And you know what? I wish it went on longer. I really, really wanted that scene to keep going.
But I do feel like, considering the original, like it went on sufficiently long. You know?
I think it was about the same length,
Yeah,
if not
well, exactly.
maybe even shorter. I don't know. But
The queen is evil. You must flee into the woods.
They changed everything exactly the way it should have been changed for the most part.
For the most part.
I'll get into some nitpicks.
I have some nitpicks too.
But the first half was like perfect. They perfectly expanded the opening to be like, okay, here's how the queen got into power.
Yeah. It is interesting because I feel like Disney movies will have dead parents but avoid like really talking about the parents dying.
Yeah.
And this, like, I mean, it made sense that they gave it the backstory, but they had to be like, yeah, mom died. Yeah, dad died, or dad went away. Yeah.
Right. But then you find out dead. Dead dad. I thought the dad was going to come back. But yeah, they kept it dark. And yeah, in the beginning, they kept it appropriately dark. The queen is an evil bitch, and I thought they were going to take out the line about her wanting to straight up murder Snow White, and they
take
did
the
it.
heart
and
out.
take the heart. I know.
Yeah, because when we were watching the old one, I don't know if we both did this, but I was like, whoa, like I didn't remember the thing about like actually cut her open and take her organ out.
Yeah, that was cool.
And this time they're like, yeah, that stays.
So yeah, they kept all that stuff in, which was nice. Yeah, I thought the songs. When we reviewed Wicked, I didn't mention the songs. I thought the songs were fine.
I thought the songs in Wicked were pretty not memorable.
But they were like, show tunes aren't really my thing.
But these were good.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I thought like most of these, not all, but most of them were like pretty catchy songs.
Especially that opening song with her when she's like cleaning and like singing. And it was about like, the girl that's inside of me.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
No, I thought a bunch of them were good.
I was like, I wish I was 10. Like, I would be obsessed with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple that weren't quite up to par with the rest, but whatever, I don't care. Oh, the dwarves? Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that everyone was bitching about, was that there was this photo that leaked online, which was hysterical, admittedly. It was a photo of what, slight spoilers, everybody, are the bandits in this movie.
Yeah.
That photo came out, and I was like, this is the dumbest shit ever. And I remember I was bitching to you. I was like, this is so stupid, because everyone thought those were the dwarves.
Yeah.
Turns out they're different characters, and they still look stupid. I think that costume design is just horrible. They were like trying to make them look like, they're like scrappy guys. They're just taking whatever clothes they can. But I think they still... You didn't have to make it so realistic that they all look like rainbow colored. I don't know.
It's a kid's movie.
I know, but
and I feel like that does defend a lot of it. But yeah, I feel like in my perfect costume design, they might look a little bit more like potato sacky. A little bit more dirty, a little bit more like hair is messed up. And I think the main guy that talked the most out of them, he looked a little bit more like dirty.
The not Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they kept clothes more similar to him, the rest of them, it was like distracting.
But they didn't
almost.
even talk. They were just like wearing shiny clothes and like they were like non-speaking actors.
Yeah, but let me stay with the good stuff for a little bit.
Yeah.
The dwarves were great. And because I remember like everyone was bitching about the animation on them and everyone's saying like, oh, they look the Polar Express. It's like, they look fine. They look totally fine. And the reason that I think they chose the animation was because the original Snow White is very, very slapstick. And the dwarves are doing all this crazy nonsense. And I think having real actors do a lot of that stuff may have been a little either difficult to pull off or like, I don't know. And when you make them cartoon characters, it's more faithful to the original because they look just like the original characters. Like Dopey looks just like Dopey.
I do think the animation could have been different to be like perfect in my mind. Like I didn't love the animation, but I feel like it was fine. Like I thought Dopey looked too much like a kid.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
It did the job for me. And I thought I loved the hi-ho scene, how they changed it into a ridiculous minecart thing going into these like
I love the
massive
mines.
caverns. And that was just like fun. That was like such a great like modernized version of the original. It was just like a fun scene to watch.
Yeah, at first they were like walking, because they started with the hi-ho and I was like, oh, are they coming home from work right now? And I was like, we're not even going to see the mine. But then they were going to work and we like saw their whole work day and it was like in the mine. It was so cool because I love mines. I think they're so cool.
Yeah.
So that was like a lot of fun, that whole scene.
Hello? Is there anybody here?
Zegler, you're a terrible person. No one likes you.
In the original, she hangs out with the dwarves, and then the witch comes to kill her, and that's like the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So in this movie, you're like, okay, what direction are they going to go in? So she meets Prince Charming, who's not Prince Charming. He's a
bandit.
He's a bandit.
And he has a personality.
He does have a personality.
And they talk to each other.
Yes. He doesn't just sing at her for 5 seconds and then come kiss her an hour later.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think the original is like a romantic movie. It's like, no, this movie is more romantic than the original by far.
I mean, it's funny with the original one is just so ridiculous. I'm like watching it and I'm like, fellas.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I get that in this story, she loves him. But in real life, if a girl runs away when you talk to her, don't keep pursuing her.
Yeah.
Don't kiss her when she dies.
Literally singing at her, and she's just like, get me the fuck out of here. Yeah. She just runs into her castle.
Yeah, but that's her true love.
Yeah, it's so stupid. But so what they did in this movie that was clever was they are basically opposite characters. And I think they could have tweaked this to make it even a little bit better.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he is someone who is only cares about his own people. A little bit yeah. Well, he's portrayed.
He's a man of the people.
He is portrayed as a nice person, but Snow White wants to just like. It's said in one of the songs where he's like, "Oh, you can't just like solve all your problems by like giving people pie or some shit." Yeah. He's a bit more realistic, and she's a bit more
optimistic.
Dumb.
Well, I feel like she's more like I feel like she's less aware of the woes of the people because she's been holed up in this castle. And I think he sees the reality of the society that the queen has made where people are struggling.
Yes.
And so she's like, I want to help people by making pies, and he's like, pies won't cure,
Yeah. He's realistic,
poverty.
She's kind of a dreamer.
Yeah.
She thinks she'll solve all of her shit with optimism, and he's kind of like, it's not really how it works in the real world.
But they had something to learn from each other.
Yes, they both learned from each other a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like every story beat was appropriate. And of course the big change is that the whole ending is the witch doesn't fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. The witch turns back into the queen, and then Snow White leads an uprising, sort of. Using optimism.
And friendliness.
Using her character traits to convince the queen's guards to betray the queen. Because the queen's guards, or whatever, the army, they were all like former farmers and like village people. Mm-hmm. And as the queen's ordering them to murder Snow White's like, oh no, I know all of you people. Yeah. And she's like naming them and like saying what their jobs are and everything. So it was just like it was a better story. Yeah, it was 100% a better story. But what's up with Snow White being a Latina woman? What was that all about?
What's up with that?
Why'd they do that?
Well, she was actually named Snow White because the day that she was born, it was snowing.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like in first second they were like, this is why.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
It's not because she's beautifully pale.
Yeah.
Which is fucking weird about the original movie anyway, that they're like, oh, she's so pale. Everyone loves her because she's so pale.
It's like, no one likes that.
Yeah.
Gross. Go into a salon, lady.
Yeah. Get a little spray tan, Snow White.
Yeah, Jesus.
She doesn't even have any like definable features in the original.
Yeah, she looks like so pale. Fucking marshmallow. Yeah.
She looks like like harsh flash photography at all times.
That's one more thing that people were bitching about in the memes was they were like, Gal Gadot is so much hotter than Rachel Zegler. And first of all...
No. First of all, you're wrong.
Well, no, actually, it's funny because I thought that at first, but then I was watching this movie, and before Gal Gadot puts the little hat thing on, the headpiece, and she looks a little normal, I was like, oh fuck, she is really, really attractive. But Rachel Zegler is really cute. She's a cute little girl.
She is. Well, and I also think they stress the point that part of what made her the fairest in the land is her heart.
What a great little thing to add.
Yeah.
At the very end of the movie, spoilers, the mirror tells the evil queen that she's a vain and that Rachel Zegler's beauty comes from the inside.
His words, not ours.
It was such a great way to end that movie.
Yeah.
And
a good lesson.
Yeah, that's the thing. So this movie had like, it's a kid's movie.
Yeah.
We're watching it as a kid's movie. Kids' movies need to have good lessons for children. You look at Aladdin. Be yourself. Don't try to be someone else.
Cinderella, never lose your shoes.
Never lose your shoes. Little Mermaid. Grow up and move out of your parents' house.
Sleeping Beauty, don't do that.
Don't do that, Sleeping Beauty. And then the original Snow White is like, oh, be a lady who cleans the house and cooks for men. There's no lesson in the original one. This movie actually added value.
You'll be safe from the Queen here.
The Queen stole everything from all of us. I'm gonna need your help. It's time to restore our kingdom.
The first part where the movie took a little dip was when they introduced the bandit characters. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, they only needed the one guy. They only needed the love interest to be one of the bandits. He should have just been like an Aladdin kind of character. He's on his own. He steals stuff from the rich people. And it would have helped his character if he was by himself also, because he would have been even more pessimistic about people. If he was all by himself, he would be like, I just don't trust people. I see what the Queen is doing. Fuck that.
But I feel like that wasn't the point of his character.
I get it, but it would have been more, I feel like it would have been more of a contrast.
Right, he would have had more to learn.
Yes, exactly. He would have seen Snow White be this like really helpful, empathetic person and be like, oh no, I do see the good in people again, Right. That would have been a bigger change than what actually happened. But on top of that, it's just weird having like 7 dwarves and then what I'm guessing 7 bandits and
some of them do not say a single word.
Yeah, and
they're just there looking funny.
I think they were just there to have like a fight scene in the middle, or because they wanted to say that there were bandits. I don't really know. I don't really know what the point of them was.
I didn't mind the bandits. To me, I don't know. The symmetry of it.
But here's
I felt like it worked, and I feel like if they looked better, I wouldn't have any complaint about it.
Maybe.
It was just because they were there doing nothing and looking silly. That it felt weird.
But one of my bigger complaints is that the movie, all of the new stuff, lacks creativity. And this is something that just seems to be a problem in movies now. It's like the same thing with like the Star Wars sequels. And I have a very like childlike mentality about things. That's why I like Snow White. But so sometimes I get frustrated with filmmakers when I'm like, they're doing the story beats, but they're forgetting about like being a little child and thinking like what a kid wants to see. Like the Queen sends her army after Snow White, right? Mm-hmm. That's not nearly as cool as going into a creepy dark forest where the trees are alive and trying to kill people,
What?
There's no fantasy element to it. It just, the new stuff that they added was played out very like realistically. And so that middle scene was like, it's fine. It didn't really do anything for me. And then you get to the end scene. So Snow White goes up to the castle and it's very somber. She walks inside and like it looks like you're in a different movie. It feels very dramatic and it's very slow paced. And I could hear the kids in the background like getting like rustling around.
Why are kids always coughing?
I don't know. I think that every kid is diseased. Yeah, really annoying.
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half straight of a kid coughing.
I was picturing myself being like, get out of the like a grown man yelling at this little girl.
I was thinking,
I'm trying to watch Snow White.
Also, they were like rustling something, and like if it was a different movie, I would have shushed them. But I was like, I'm in their movie. I can't say shit.
No, fuck them. They were in my movie. This was my moment. They don't give a shit about Snow White. I've cared about Snow White for 34 years. My time.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you should have said something.
I know, I should have.
As you were saying.
So then the ending had the correct story beats, but it lacked 2 things. The dwarves get sidelined at the end of the movie, number 1. And number 2, there was no like cool, creative, visual, interesting thing that happens. The Queen gets sucked into the mirror. I guess it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool how they ended it.
It was all right, but you know what I would have preferred? Like, first of all, do a homage to the original, like, and it would get the dwarves to do something. So the dwarves should have showed up. Snow White has her monologue. The guards turn against the queen. The queen retreats into the castle. What if the gates lock or something? A big door locks. The dwarves are still bickering with each other, okay? But the dwarves manage to get the gate open. They learn finally to work together. We save that until the end, right? That gives the dwarves something to do. The dwarves should chase the queen to the top of the tower and make it rain and thunderstorm, and then redo the original scene kind of, but on the top of her tower, and then she falls off, lightning hits, whatever. Something cool, you know? And that would make me feel better also, because it seems like it's still capturing the essence of the original in that sense. The dwarves don't get sidelined, and you still have all of the same story beats happen that are better in this movie.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, it's like a little bit nitpicking, but it does feel like, I feel like a lot of the criticism is just because it becomes so different, and people don't like different.
It's funny, I didn't think it was that different, because I felt like the cool things or the important things from the original, they did keep the idea of them. They just also added in more. Like instead of the whole time in the woods being at, with the dwarves, it's like now there's also these extra characters in there. Now she also has a relationship. There's, I don't know. Like they had more than just like, oh, the witch comes. It's like they had something else happen before the witch comes.
Yeah, but like the witch on top of the cliff pushing the boulder on the dwarves with the lightning, it's iconic. It's one of the few iconic moments in the original. So when they took that out, it was like, whatever. And you know what else I thought would have been cool?
What?
The queen retreats to the top of her castle and she starts transforming into the witch because that's her true form, you know?
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah, I mean, all these ideas that you have, I think they would have been cool. But I also thought it was so cool when the evil queen, got turned to dust or whatever because she's so evil as like the mirror shattering. Like I thought that moment was very cool.
It was all right. I mean, I liked that it came right after the mirror telling her that the true beauty comes from within, and then the mirror just, I guess, kills her. The mirror. What did happen?
Well, I think it was how she was able to turn the rose to dust. It's like that happened to her.
And how did that happen though?
I don't really understand, but I don't think I need to understand.
Okay.
Waiting on a wish, holding out for someday, hoping somehow, some way, there comes a miracle.
Find Snow White.
Now there's one last thing I want to mention.
Okay.
In the Aladdin movie, they made Jafar, who was an ugly old man, into a hot Abercrombie model. Okay? And in this movie, Gal Gadot, when she turns into the witch, is not really a witch. She's just like an old lady with a cute little nose. And do you know what witches need?
Big, ugly honkers.
Big, ugly honkers and big chins. And like the original Snow White was like one of the defining movies for like what an old creepy witch looks like. And for them to not do that in this movie, as a fan of the original Snow White and as a fan of spooky things, was just really annoying. I mean, how dare they?
I don't know. I'm down with movies not raising generations to think that ugly people are evil. Because already people are more trusting of hot people than they are of ugly people. And I think it doesn't help if they're like, all the villains have big noses and warts, and now then you grow up with it seared in your brain that mean people have big noses and warts.
Can you just be fun for once?
Sorry.
Can we not be this woke, please? Can we just keep witches have big noses and big chins. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry, honey. That's the way it is.
Real witches have big noses.
Real witches have big fucking noses, okay? And I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. If there's a real lady who has a big nose, she's got to suck it up and maybe get called a witch from time to time.
And also, I don't trust her.
And I don't fucking trust her. She probably just dark magic. And this is the thing. Disney should hire me because I am a pretty semi-intelligent, articulate adult child. And that's what they need over there, is they need a semi-intelligent, articulate adult child.
Have you applied?
I don't see a position, but this is my specialty. is like, I know
Consultant.
Yes. But they have all these grown adults making all the decisions, and like...
Yeah, they need a little boy like you.
They do. That's exactly what they need. But anyway, yeah, I thought overall it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And Geeks and Gamers, and... Suck it, Geeks and Gamers. And what's that other guy, that fucking Irish guy?
Cillian Murphy. Barry Keoghan. Bono.
The Critical Drinker. The Critical Drinker is another guy who...
Should I tell him to suck it too?
Yeah, tell him to suck it.
Suck it!
Yeah. Suck it, all you fucking assholes on YouTube. Yeah, people are stupid.
We got pretty wound up there for a second.
It's like, what do you want out of a Snow White remake?
It doesn't matter. They want money, and that's what they get.
No, but I think obviously they do want money, but I also think they are just being little babies about it. I think there's a lot of people, and like the critic reviews for this movie aren't super high. It's like in the 40s right now on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's like, what did you want? It's like, has everyone just forgotten about the original? How it's like the most dated thing ever?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a level below the datedness of that fucking slave movie with the zippity doodah. The one the Splash Mountain is based off.
Right.
The happy
that
slave.
That was a very funny sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of the critics are wrong on this one. I think they're incredibly biased, and I think they're dumb.
Yeah. Suck it.
Fuck all you guys. Snow White rules. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. We know movies.
Yeah.
I went to film school. So
and
that gives me credit also.
I watch all the fucked up movies I can, and I thought this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so smart.
We are.
All right. We good?
Yeah.
Okay.